I've crushed both big toes now today. Okay, enough of this crap. Canadian Computer Collector here. Thank you for joining us today because only you can join us. Only you can stop fires. Today I wanted to have a look at my low-end Mac ecosystem. So these are all not the newest of Apple machines in their lineup, but all of them work fabulously, and I'll tell you that you can get into this particular ecosystem quite cheap. The reason I wanted to look at this stuff is because this is a great way to get into owning modern Apple equipment without breaking the bank. If you're a young person, if you're someone going to school, maybe you're an old person. So I've always had PCs all my life. I'm a desktop guy. My desktop is a PC. I built it myself. But when I first started buying classic computers, I started noticing Apple stuff was a little bit different from the PC stuff. Apple models were models. They weren't just, a beige case with whatever parts you could get your hands on, or whatever parts had been dumped in your lap, if someone
taking a dump on you.
Apple computers didn't have that issue. They were always like, this is this model. These were the available options. You could always kind of ballpark what a machine is and has based on the model. If you think of Apple computers in this space a bit more like a car company in that they have a new model that comes out every year with different options and trim packages and things like that. That's something I noticed in Apple stuff from the get-go. And actually it makes collecting it easier. And I think that's why it's so appealing to collect vintage Apple stuff, because there are those different identifiable models. So how did I get into using this low-end Mac ecosystem? Because I'm a PC guy and I still have my PC desktop, I wasn't in a rush to buy Apple stuff that was modern or close to modern. It just sort of happens. This 2013 iMac has a broken screen, as you can see, but I bought it dirt cheap, just thinking, yeah, throw it on the pile, This 2010 MacBook was given to me because it wouldn't turn on and the screen was broken. Now, this is a first-gen iPad Pro. 12.9 inch was given to me by my uncle, so that is an unusual circumstance and not something you can rely on. Unfortunately, my uncle doesn't have any more of these, so if you're gonna hit him up, you're out of luck. And then this iPhone 11 that I picked up recently. I wasn't looking for any of this stuff, really, except arguably the iPhone. The iPhone, as soon as I found out that iOS was starting to block app tracking and giving you the option to more or less give the middle finger to Facebook, I decided I'm all about that. So anyway, the point of this video is I want to share with you what it would cost to get into something similar and what it can still do for you. These are not useless machines. Just because this thing is 11 years old and this is 8 years old doesn't mean that they're not functional anymore. We live in a world where computing is still making huge advances, but it's not like it used to be in the 80s. It's not like in 1986 you bought a machine and then in 1987 something came out that made that one completely irrelevant. I don't know what a word would be for it. We're not plateauing, but I would say the growth has slowed. So older machines are more relevant now than they would have been back in time. I should also say I don't have an Apple Watch. I like analog watches, and therefore there won't be any Apple Watches in this video.
Let's get to it.
All right, Leds and Gens, while this iMac boots up, let's talk about what this machine is still useful for. So I use this machine primarily for things like playing Minecraft or spreadsheets for Dungeons and Dragons and YouTube videos and all that kind of stuff. Actually, it kind of functions as like a secondary machine for me. I keep it right next to my PC. Photoshop, InDesign, this stuff is still going to run on this machine. It might not be perfect, but it'll still run. But Adobe Premiere is probably pushing it. Premiere suggests having a solid-state drive, so that might not function well in this case. There are things outside of the Adobe suite you can do with it. Still an excellent Minecraft machine. The Retina display is flawless. I mean, even with the big cracks in here, playing Minecraft on this computer looks fantastic. I am a writer by trade, so mostly business writing, but typically what I do is, using Microsoft Suite, which obviously is going to work fine on here, and I love the feeling of the magic keyboards. So I would call this still a very useful computer. If you see the video, is the 2013 iMac still a decent computer? It's one of the first videos I did on this channel, and the answer is yes. Let's just pull up an eBay right now and see what these go for. Now this one cost me 150 Canadian dollars because it had the cracked screen, and the owner was convinced that it was locked and there was no way to get back in it, which just wasn't the case. So I may be Canadian, but we're going to go to ebay.com just to have a look at these. So let's search for 2013 iMac. Oh, we should also put 21 and a half. Slide on down to the sold section. Where are we? So if I sort by highest first, we can see where the high end is, of course. But we get down to the low end. Here we go. 2013 21.5 inch all-in-one i5 4570, 16 gigs of RAM, 1 terabyte hard drive with power cord, 239 American dollars. Here we have one. It's a 21.5 inch with the i5 4570R, 16 gigs of RAM, and a 250 gig SSD for $168. So these are very good value now. Obviously, they've come down in price since I bought this one because this one's broken and still cost me 150 Canadian. But that's good news for you if you're looking for a cheap machine. So I would say this era of iMac is excellent. Hasn't really let me down yet. I'm sure it will eventually. So the next machine on this fun little quest is my 2010 Polycarbonate white MacBook. Not MacBook Pro. So while this machine boots up, I'm going to let you know what I'm in it for. I got this for free, as I'd stated earlier in the video. However, the screen had a giant black sort of, what looked like a black hole on it, and like, oh god, oh right, I had a fireplace going here. Ran out of battery. Anyway, this machine had a broken screen. So what did I do? I replaced the screen with a replacement part off of eBay, put a 128 gig solid state drive in here and 8 gigs of RAM. And let me just say, this is a great little machine. It's a Core 2 Duo, so I wouldn't call it the belle of the ball, but it's a wonderful writing machine. Microsoft Office, again, is fine. This is pre-Retina era, so, you know, leaves a little bit wanting as far as the screen quality is concerned. Otherwise, seemingly a pretty bulletproof machine. I would highly suggest one of these. If you're looking for budget laptop, like if you don't want to spend any money on it, this is the one to go for. Let's just see what they go for on eBay right now. 2010 MacBook white. We'll just put that in there. Scroll down to sold. Highest first. Okay. So here we go. We have one with 4 gigs of RAM for $99. We also have, if we go up a bit more, looks like $100 is basically the 4 gig of RAM price. Here's one with 8 gigs and a solid state drive. Doesn't say how big the solid state is. $125. Here's one with 8 gigs of RAM and an SSD for $128. Another one. So, you know what? These are pretty affordable machines. Okay, let's look at the iPad Pro first gen. 12.9 inch.
That's a big one.
Now this is a fantastic piece of equipment. It's quick, snappy, still supported for a first gen iPad anything. I really enjoy using this thing. I'm not a big iPad tablet kind of guy, like sitting around. I always prefer to be on a laptop or a desktop. But this thing's won my heart over. I use it as a television in my kitchen. I put some games on here like Grand Theft Auto, San Andreas, and a few other ones. Gaming on this thing, I probably, I wouldn't give it a high rating. I think younger people probably would enjoy it more. If you hook up a controller, you're going to enjoy it a lot more than I did. That said, it's a super handy portable piece of equipment. So, I think this is probably the most expensive piece, maybe beyond the iPhone. But let's just take a look to see what these are selling for on the iMac. So if we go to eBay and we type in first generation iPad Pro 12.9. Okay, actually, you know what? Maybe I'm eating my words here. We have iPad Pro 12.9, 32 gigs. Here's for 143. Here's another one for 128. Cracked though. If we scroll up a bit more, here's an unlocked white model, 32 gigs, 170. Yeah, so it looks like most first-gen iPad Pros are going to be like between $200 to $300. So depending on how much storage you want or a few other options, you're looking at between $200 and $300. So the iPad Pro, first generation, low-end iPad Pro, I guess you could say, I think it's fantastic. Still got a button on it. That's how you know it's old and low-end. So last item on my low-end Mac ecosystem train here, and it's not really low-end because it's fairly new, but I did get a slamming deal on it, so it is part of my Apple ecosystem. It's an iPhone 11, and I got this thing from Costco on a Black Friday deal, and let me tell you, I'm paying like $5 a month for the first little while, and then $15 a month for the last year. Bunch of gift cards back, so like while it's a phone that is on the surface 700 Canadian dollars, long and short of it is this is an affordable phone, a couple of years old. I think it's fantastic, and on eBay right now they're selling for $2,800. No. Okay. So yeah, close to retail. So about $700. So this is not a cheap phone, and probably shouldn't even be in this video. But if you are setting up with a carrier, you can get a very good deal on these things through financing. It's not $40 a month, it's like $5 to $15 a month, at least here in Canada. But it is a part of my Apple ecosystem, and it's not an iPhone 13 or a 12, so I'm calling it low end. This is all equipment that I use every day, and that's a big part of why I wanted to do this video, just to show you that, you know, phone aside, regardless of the type of phone you have, you can get into reliable Apple hardware, used, granted, for a very affordable price. And when we were looking at even the iMacs that were selling for $150 to $200, they didn't have broken screens like mine does. So this is all very doable. And if you're sitting at home thinking, oh, I'll never be able to afford a computer, maybe this is a good place for you to start. If you're not doing anything super graphic intensive or wanting to edit video, unfortunately. And if you like watching TV in your kitchen, you know what to do. So for the enterprising young individual looking to get their hands on some Apple equipment, you can start a little bit older and save a lot of money. My name is the diaper god of the trap. I'm the Canadian Computer Collector. Thank you so much for joining us again. We're going to call this one here. This ecosystem is maybe not for everyone, but it's definitely a good place to start for some people. With these three machines, iPhone separate, you're looking at probably under $750, even less probably. It just depends on how much storage you want and the condition of the machines you're looking at. Make sure you check out the description below. We've got links to Buy Me a Coffee, our social media, a Patreon project that I'm working on soon. A little teaser there. So without further ado, I think I'm gonna bid my leave, my liege, my lady, my lord, my lover. Mayonnaise.